I feel like I just walked into a room full of absolute morons. Morons, the lot of them. Because I saw this post that went viral from this journalist, and it's like this Florida GOP nominee said, we shouldn't monkey this up by enacting like socialist policies, and I was like, okay. Because I've heard the phrase used before, and maybe it's a Chicago thing, I have no idea, but I've heard it used a lot. It's not like I hear it every day or every week, but it happens sometimes. And my understanding of it was that monkeying something up is a reference to either doing something kind of half-assed, lazily, and making something kind of crappy, or it means to make things kind of wild and unpredictable. It's like, the connotation is like a monkey is jumping around and knocking things over or something. At least that's my general understanding in the context. And apparently this Florida GOP guy, that's what he said. And now there's people all over the left claiming that he's racist. Oh, it was a racist attack. And there was a CNN panel where a guy was like, this was a racist attack. We deal with this all the time. And I'm like, you don't seriously think that a GOP politician was trying to use a racial slur against somebody? And what also bothers me about this is the idea, like, among the left, like, what makes you think him talking about monkeys has anything to do with black people? Why do you think that? That kind of bothers me, all right? But more importantly, we got this article. So I've got some examples I'll show you. I got CNN, I got Daily Wire, I got some definitions. We're going to talk about how monkey this up is totally normal, okay? So here's CNN. Oh, lovely. Florida's GOP gubernatorial nominee says a vote for his black opponent would monkey this up. Actually, that's not what he said. He said we have to fight. He went on to say that the guy was articulate and he was a really strong candidate who was better than all the rest, and they got to fight really hard to defeat him, and that we shouldn't monkey this up by enacting socialist policies. That's what he said. Plain and simple. And you know what? People, these identitarians, now CNN playing the game, they really want this to be a race-based issue. They want to inflame racial tensions because, for the love of God, is there no honesty left among anybody in politics? Seriously. So, fresh off the victory in blah, 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 blah. He said voters would monkey this up if they elected him. That's not what he said, CNN. God, that's so awful. I don't even want to read this. This is absolutely fake news, okay? There's an example I always tell people if you've heard of the hydrogen monoxide hoax. I'll say something like, did you know that hydric acid, a chemical used in nuclear power plants, was found in high quantities in plumbing in New York City? Hydric acid is water. But by framing it that way, it sounds like a dangerous chemical. Or I could say something like, there's a journalist at Daily Beast named Kelly Weil, who was also an attendee to this year's Unite the Right rally, and she frequently writes about right-wing issues. And when you hear me say that, it sounds like she is one of these neo-Nazis. No. This is how journalists use the facts to manipulate you. This framing is important, okay? He didn't say voters would monkey up by electing an African-American opponent. He said enacting socialist policies would, after he went on a tirade complimenting the man. It's absolutely insane. This is what elections come down to. I'm not going to vote for people based on the lies you push in the media. All right? Well, I don't live in Florida. I did, but I don't now. The remark provides a controversial beginning to what will be a closely watched general election for the Florida governorship, which pits DeSantis, who has closely aligned himself with President Donald Trump, against Gillum. Yes, they want him to be racist. This is what it's all about. They want to say he's the racist. They're not going to reference this in the future, okay? I should say they're not going to quote it. In the future, you're going to see articles where they say things like, and DeSantis was embroiled in that racism controversy after he used a racially charged epithet against his opponent. And people are going to go, wow, really? Did he? And they're not going to show you what actually happened. This is the framing. So that in several months, this will appear as a source article on Wikipedia where it says that he made a racist comment about his opponent. You'll see articles pop up on the left where they're like, DeSantis, who is known for making racist comments about black people. That's what they do. That's how the media does this. I'm just so sick of seeing this bullshit. So here we have the Daily Wire. Left-wing media claims FL GOP candidate said monkey it up in reference to black Democratic candidate. He didn't. And he didn't. He was saying socialism would monkey it up. All right, before I read the Daily Wire, let's talk some facts. All right, I've heard this phrase used before. This wasn't surprising to me. So when we go to the Webster Dictionary, Merriam-Webster, I believe this is Merriam-Webster. This is what Google shows me first. Monkey up is an idiom. It means to hack together hardware for a particular task, especially a one-shot job. It connotes an extremely crafty and consciously temporary solution. Compare with hack up, kludge up. Okay, it is a dictionary of computing, whatever that means. I guess it's an esoteric phrase. Maybe I've heard it some in the hacker community, but to me it was kind of normal. Then we have this from definitions.net. I don't know what definitions.net is, but definitions for monkey up. Monkey up, to hack together hardware for a particular task. It's the same thing, cruft together. Oh, it adds a little bit more. But it typically means you kind of jerry-rig something. You've duct taped things together. And maybe I've heard it because okay, it says New Hacker's Dictionary. So maybe that's it. Is this Florida GOP guy a hacker? I've probably heard this because I'm in the hacker community and I would go to places like DEF CON and I've heard it fairly often. But wait, there's more, because you can just look at forums from years ago and see people saying this. Okay, we got one where someone says, you probably can't see this on the screen, but it's a forum from 2012. And he says, please don't monkey, he's talking about a SIG. He said, the SIG is a beautiful rifle. Please don't monkey it up with an M4 stock. Then we've got this post from RC Hobby King. And I have no idea what an OS 25 Max is. But he says, the engine was seized up. I freed the engine up. I wasn't exactly surgical in my approach, although I tried not to monkey it up too much. I'm not sure if the engine ever ran before. Yes, because it means literally what it means in all of these different forums. And perhaps it's not in the common parlance to the extent that people will understand what's being said, but context matters. But here's what happens. People want this to be a racial issue, so they'll make it one. They'll make it one so that they can make this guy the racist. So let's look at this Daily Wire article from Ash Shao. Yet again, left-wing media outlets are using an out-of-context quote to claim a Republican is using racist dog whistles. Rep. Ron DeSantis won his GOP primary for governor Tuesday night. Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum, a black progressive, won the Democratic primary. Shortly after the race was called, DeSantis was on Fox News discussing the Bernie Sanders endorsed candidate. This is a guy who, although he is much too liberal for Florida, I think he's got huge problems with how he has governed Tallahassee, DeSantis said, adding that Gillum is an articulate spokesman for the far left views, that he is a charismatic candidate. Oh, it's very complimentary of you. He went on to say that he watched the Democratic debates and that Gillum performed better than the other people there. This is what DeSantis said specifically of Gillum. Where things go wrong is when DeSantis started talking about progressive policies. Gillum supports the left's Medicare for All healthcare solution and the Abolish ICE movement. DeSantis quickly switched from speaking positively about Gillum to the policies he supports. Quote, he said, so we have to work hard to make sure we continue Florida going in a good direction. Let's build off of the success we've had with Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state. Even if you've never heard the phrase before, the fact that people are immediately going to assume this was a racist attack is alarming to me, because it's identitarians who do that. And that's what I made a video earlier this morning on my main channel. That's what they want. They want everyone to, they call it racial consciousness. And this is common among identitarians. They want you all to be racially conscious. So they do these things on purpose, because why would the left be implying that monkey this up was a reference to black people? That to me is very racist. Especially, like, look, if you don't know what it means, Google it. And apparently it wasn't hard for me to find. I guess it's a computing hacker definition, which explains why I've heard this before and find it to be relatively common. But even if you don't understand a phrase, or it's not, it's not part of your group, or it's esoteric, doesn't mean it's racist. But you know what? If you were to ask me, I think they want it to be racist. He wasn't speaking specifically about Gillum, but the policies he and Senator Bernie Sanders support. Republicans do need to be careful with language, as even a phrase as common as monkey it up can be twisted against them. He should have just said, mess this up. And that's true, absolutely. He should have said, mess this up. When The Hill reported DeSantis' comment, it included reaction comments from Democrats claiming the comments were racist and disgusting. There's no indication the publication reached out to DeSantis himself or his campaign for an explanation. The Daily Wire did reach out to DeSantis' campaign, but didn't immediately hear back. So this story is actually, I believe it's from today, yeah. But CNN, I believe, does have a quote, and it says, the communications director from Stephen Lawson, he was obviously talking about Florida not making the wrong decision to embrace the socialist policies that Andrew Gillum espouses. To characterize it as anything else is absurd, and it is. But guess what? Politics is not about what matters or what's important. And it's fascinating how I find myself, a social liberal who believes in more left-wing policies than right-wing policies for the most part. I find myself agreeing with conservatives on issues like this. Because whatever's going on, there are too many people in the left who are, one, identitarian, okay, and moderate right-wing individuals reject identitarianism and the alt-right. I would say, yeah, most moderates. And then you have the left. Well, they're identitarian, but they're also, this is an underhanded tactic that's going on. And I can't imagine, look, you'd have to convince me all of these people are morons, which you're not going to convince me of. It's possible. It's possible that all these people are just so dumb, they really don't know what monkeyed up means. And yeah, but I really don't believe that. I have more faith in humanity. So then we're left with two problems, okay? We're two potential issues. Either they're lying and they want everyone to think this guy's racist so they can frame it that way in the future, or they're all just so ignorant and lacking capabilities and cognitive function to actually do a search and understand what these words mean, that they're literally believing this. And I have to imagine it's complete and total nonsense. Anyway, I got a couple more videos coming up in just a few minutes. Stick around.